everybody, and welcome to the first live-action Gale video. I'm Gale, and I wanted to do something a little different, and because of that, I felt this would be the best format. It's something new that I can do in my new place, so, you know, we'll see how this works, but I have hope for it. Today, I feel like ranking the Pokemon regions. I've been watching a lot of PokeTubers, ranking everything from gym leaders to strong OP Pokemon to future what they want in the 2019 Pokemon game, and I most certainly will add my thoughts onto kind of those topics. For now, I thought it would just be kind of a good starting video to just be like, hey, let's put it out there, what is the best region? And I'm going off of only like the country itself, no Pokemon, not the stories or the games that they come from, just specifically, you know, if I were to go to a place to visit, where would I go, kind of thing. My number 7 region, the kind of the least good region to me, is Kalos. And that is because mostly Kalos is very boring. It's a region that where, in terms of just like stuff to do, there isn't much. Lumios as a city, you know, it's very pretty, it looks good, but when it comes to like actually having interesting things to look at, it doesn't do too well. It's very kind of, let's look at this cool 3D thing we've got going on, and with that, there's not like a lot of, you know, variety. They have some routes that are very different from the normal grass routes, but they don't feel necessarily like they're part of the map. They feel more like they had to check off a list and say, here's the desert area, and we're gonna put it next to the swamp area, and we're gonna have that across from the ice area. It's just very kind of thrown together to me, so I feel like other regions are better. My number 6 region is Johto, and like I said, this doesn't count the Pokemon or the games, so please don't crucify me yet. My reason that Johto is so low is because Johto itself doesn't have a lot of variety. It has an ocean, there is Mount Silver at the very, very end. That's about it. They've got the usual grass and water. It doesn't have a lot of variety in the region, and the cities are not distinct enough to where I feel like, you know, they're good enough on their own to carry a region that's mostly just the same grassland area. So for me, Johto is just, it doesn't have enough variety in it, and it feels more like here's an extension of Kanto than its own unique, distinctive region. My number 5 pick is actually really close to my number 4 pick, so take it with a grain of salt between the two. But my number 5 pick is gonna have to be Sinnoh, and that is because whereas a lot of other regions didn't have an identity, Sinnoh does have an identity. It is very much the mountainous snow region of, you know, the entire Pokemon world. It does it best, and it does it really consistently. It doesn't try to shoehorn in a, you know, a lot of other areas. Like, they don't have like a huge desert area and here's just the ice area and here's just the tropical rainforest area. It's very nice in that it's very much, it feels like a cohesive place that, like, they made the map and then they put cities on the map instead of making the cities and then filling in between with whatever they were missing at the time. But with that being said, the cities are what kind of drag it down. For me, I like my cities to be kind of ingrained in the environment, not just I traveled through a route city, I traveled through another route, another city, and for me, Sinnoh just didn't do that. It, didn't put them together. It was a lot of, here's going through a cave, you know, you just went through this mountain and another city. Even places like Orberg and Kanto Cave, which arguably do better at mixing where they are and kind of the culture and what they have, it doesn't, to me, it feels like they just did another city that looks like the rest of the cities, and they just put kind of the mine in the corner. And Kanto Cave does better because it's got the nice like river in the middle of it, but it's still just, it's the same city for all of them. Same buildings, same kind of basic structure. So for me, that puts Sinnoh kind of low on this list. My number 4 pick is Kanto. And as much as I love Kanto, we have to accept the limitations of it. It was the first game made on a Game Boy. So it obviously didn't have cool snow areas, and it didn't have too much of like a volcanic region. If you do count the Kanto region in the Johto games, then it does kind of, Cinnabar Island gets this more volcanic feel. And the Seafoam Islands are really cool as its own unique place, but it's just not as varied, and it very much is kind of like you go into these mini dungeons that have kind of some different flair, but we all know it's all grassland. It's all just the same road with grass, and it, you know, that works for it because at least it's cohesive. It's not randomly throwing stuff in the middle of the road that you're kind of like, where did this come from? The thing that really brings it up, but despite the lack of variety in its region, is its cities. Its cities are so unique. Like, you never mix up Cerulean and Vermilion City. You know, even though they're both kind of watery based, Vermilion City is clearly a harbor town, and Cerulean City is clearly more of like a resort area. And even with like the same sprites for buildings and stuff, they made these cities very individual. No one forgets Lavender Town. No one mistakes Lavender Town for Celadon City, and no one mistakes Celadon City for Saffron City. They're very unique places to be. So even though the region itself is lacking, the cities more than make up for it. The number 3 pick is Unova, and this is where I feel like I start to get a controversial opinion compared to some other people. For me, I didn't hate Unova as a region. I think it's really cool. I think some of the stuff they did with it is really unique. The fact that the seasons change, the fact that they had kind of, they did what Kalos wanted to do, but with more cohesion. So there is a desert area, but like in Black and White 2, you fly to it, so it's very distinctively separate from the area you were just at. It has really cool caves with the electric crystals. Those are very unique to Unova and give it some diversity even in the caves, which, I mean, a cave is a cave. How much can you really do with a cave? Those kind of things really set it apart in terms of like distinctive area in the regions. It obviously has its grass, it obviously has its forests, so in terms of diversity, it has a lot of diversity as a region. And I really like the cities. The cities are really cool. What I love about Unova is specifically its extremely large city is very easy to navigate and purposeful. It feels big, but it doesn't confuse the player, which I feel Lumios really confused me. Unova does that good. Unova does that, and it also has awesome man-made bridges where you get to see in different perspectives your character like walking across. So I feel like that also makes Unova a pretty unique region, and I give it props. My number 2 pick is a Lola, and what I really like about Lola is that even though it's just 4 islands, they all feel big, they all feel pretty fleshed out, and they all feel distinct. And it keeps to the island kind of mentality. It never tries to be not an island, for lack of better terms. But for me, like, it's very beautiful, and it's just, everything works well together nicely. I have very few gripes with Lola as a region. I think if I were to nitpick, I'd say I don't know why the Ice Mountain area is on the same island as the desert area, when Pony Island is, or Pawnee, I don't know how to pronounce that, but that island is huge, just grassland, and that's cool. You probably could have fit more in there and just made it a more distinct region other than here's a bunch of grasslands with dead, you know, kind of like a savanna looking area, I guess. So yeah, like, very small gripes. I love the cities. They're very unique, very individual, lots of stuff to do, lots of stuff to see. So, I mean, it gets props. It's a very good region. My number one region is, of course, by process of elimination, Hoenn. And I will start off saying I am completely biased towards Hoenn in general. I love Gen 3. It's my favorite gen. It's got some of the coolest Pokemon, I think. It's got a lot going for it. I could talk about it forever. But in terms of specifically just the region, this is where I feel like I am able to be the most objective and still put it at the top. In terms of region diversity, I don't think anything really beats Hoenn. It lacks an ice place. That's about it. It has the most diversity that isn't just strictly fire level, desert level, ice level, grass, you know, forest level. You go up and you go towards Lava Ridge Town and that volcano, and there is the desert, which is next to it, which makes sense, you know, having your hot, you know, locations next to each other. There's the Fiery Path, which is, again, a cave that does something that isn't just a cave, even though it's like a very small path. But it does something that kind of shows you, okay, this isn't just a cave, this is a cave next to a volcano. It's got some traits from that. You go forward and you go north, and it's covered in soot. And that's because, you know, that's the way the wind's blowing, and that ash is coming down that way. That's really cool. And it changes, you see it change the environment. You see this, like, lush green area transform over the soot area into more of a barren, rocky cliff looking area, and then it grows back into trees the further you leave from there. So there's this cool transition over that entire journey where you get to see the effects that this volcano has on the surrounding area. And then you come back, you go through Meteor Falls, another cave that is not just a cave, it has its own distinct looks. You don't mix Meteor Falls with, you know, Victory Road. To me, that's a sign of a good region. Something that blends and kind of thinks about where things are and why things work the way they do there. And then another thing is just the cities are more ingrained with their environments. Lava Ridge Town is a great example. They have hot springs, they have those little sand beds. It's a very small, at the tip of a volcanic mountain range sort of city. You have to get there by cable car. Like, that is cool stuff that makes that city distinct from any other city in that region. And then another great example is Fortree City, which is literally a city in trees because it's surrounded by this rainforest-like setting. It kind of makes more sense. It starts raining all the time there. That gives it a more rainforesty feel. And, you know, that whole route where you can catch Phoebus is just, it's a great route that you don't mix up which game it's from. And I think maybe that's the biggest thing that I love about Hoenn, is that each place in Hoenn feels like it couldn't be in another region or another game. Like Sootopolis City. That is a freaking crater with a city inside of it. You have to dive to get to it the first time, and then you can fly over and fly into the crater if you want to go again. And it's just a very beautiful kind of place, and it looks like what a city inside a crater would look like, you know, with various levels on the side, and, you know, at the deepest point, water would catch there. So everything in Hoenn feels like this was specifically the environment put this together, and I think that makes it a really cool and unique region. So just all in all, I think in these regions, Hoenn is the one where they were like, you know, taking the environment into consideration, taking a place and trying to make it work as a real country would look. And so I've got to give it props. It's my favorite region just because of that. Like, that's just so cool to me. So, Hoenn's my favorite region. So, what do you think? Do you hate my picks? Do you love my picks? Do you agree or do you disagree? I'd love to hear about it in the comments down below, especially if maybe I didn't factor in something that you believe really should have been factored in. I'd love to hear about it. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on the Pokemon region. Let me know what you think, like and comment, all that good stuff if you like this sort of format, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye! Today's episode is brought to you by the letter A for Ampharos.